Hi, Jerry Corley, standupcomedyclinic.com with another episode of Ask the Joke Doctor. In this episode, we're going to answer another tweet. This particular tweet is from Steve Ocean, Inc. It's another tweet from Steve Ocean. Steve's been asking some great questions, and this one really popped out in my head, so I'm going to focus on it. Normally, I don't take multiple questions on Twitter in a short period of time from individuals, but when the questions are good, I can get to this and really help out a lot of people with this particular information, because a lot of people ask this type of thing. This question is, hey, Joke Doctor, I'm performing in an amateur stand-up contest, and good for you for getting into those contests. Contests are good. They really help you to put a notch in your belt and help you to build your confidence and get better in high-stress situations. I'm performing in an amateur stand-up contest. It's scored with a point system. 10 points is for X Factor. Can you break that down, please? I sure will. Now, I love that. Thanks, Steve, for putting down this. The other things here, like originality, material was on that score sheet. That's typical. Stage presence, that's also typical. X Factor is 10 points. And what I love here about this competition, they actually have audience reaction at 20 points, especially in an amateur competition. Audience reaction is essential. How are we going to gauge the funny? You know, judges have their own personal quirks and their own personal sort of understanding of, and their own pet peeves for what they like to see in comedy, their own idiosyncrasies that they like or don't like, their own little habits that they like or don't like. Sometimes sexism comes into play. Sometimes, believe it or not, yes, sexism does come into play in this business. I mean, think about it. It's human nature when you have judges involved who are sitting there and their whole life they're used to seeing male comics, and now females are getting into the scene and bringing some good funny, but they don't feel comfortable with a female in the scene. Do you know what I'm saying? This happens. It happened at this competition not too long ago, last year. I had one of my students get up and compete in a show, and she dropped a lot of F-bombs. You know, that's her persona. She's a gal from New Jersey. She's tough. She's Greek. She's smart-ass. You know, she was dropping a lot of F-bombs. And she's funny, but the founder of this competition was not really happy about it. You know, he was like, oh, well, she drops too many F-bombs, is what he says to me. And I said, really? That's interesting. So are you saying that because she's a woman and you're a sexist, or are you saying that because you don't like F-bombs? Because I've seen your act, dude. You know, you got a ton of F-bombs in your act. And so she goes, no, I don't think that's appropriate to have that many F-bombs. And I'm like, okay, we'll see. That's interesting, you know? So after this, the round that just went by, and I'm judging in this round, there was one comedian who did like 43 fucks and, 18 motherfuckers in his 19-minute or 20-minute final round in the competition. And I was like, and he placed third or second in the competition. I was like, well, wait a second, dude. This dude had 40-something fucks and 19 motherfuckers, and he placed third. So is it really because you don't like the F-bomb, or is it because she's female and you don't think it's appropriate for a woman to say fuck on stage? So you got to think about that, because otherwise I'll out you as a sexist. I don't put up with that stuff. I don't like that. You know, treat all comics fairly and equally. So anyway, after that little diatribe there, a little rant, back to this, the X Factor. What is the X Factor? Well, let me tell you, the X Factor is, in my view, the X Factor would be your pizzazz, your charisma. What else did you bring to this event? Did you have a takeaway? Is there something memorable about you? When I walk away are you retained in my brain because you did something unique and original? Did you do an impression of a voice that stuck into my brain? Did you have a unique point of view on something? Did you shatter the status quo and say the truth? We're like, holy shit, I never thought about that before. Was it profound? Did you bring some profundity to the show? Do you know what I'm saying? What is the X Factor? What was different? What was unique? What is the takeaway? What is memorable about you? This is not only important in competitions, this is important in your regular performance. What sets you apart from all the other comics out there? What's unique? And I'm not talking about the bling or the wearing a sideways hat or something like that. That's nothing. That's just, that doesn't, add any value to, it may say something about your persona, but it doesn't add value to what you're presenting. If that's your persona, as part of your persona, the hat, the bling, that's fine. But what are you bringing up? What's the substance between underneath your act? Do you have jokes? Are you landing those jokes every 18 to 20 seconds minimum when you're performing? Are you making us laugh? Do you have that pizzazz? Do you have structure in your act? Do you keep this audience rolling? In that time you're up there doing your competition, do you think they're going to leave going, wow, man, my face hurts, my side hurts? That's what's going to make the difference. That's kind of what the X factor is are you bringing something different, some persona, some charisma, some sort of different level of, what makes me think it's Sinbad, the comedian Sinbad? Sinbad has this charisma, this smile and this charisma. It's this kind of thing that makes you just really like the dude, So that's one thing. What is unique? Lisa Lampanelli brings a very strong point of view, and she's very blue. That's unique to her character. Larry the Cable Guy has something unique in that he's got a very strong persona or character. And he identifies with that element of the audience, that blue-collar, hard-working, middle America element that likes that kind of the simplicity in life and just kind of just looking at it through his simple eyes. And that's his character, man. And people really identify with that. Bill Burr has that kind of real strong emotional point of view, and he's constantly the devil's advocate, taking on the status quo and trying to shatter it. And still trying to figure it all out at the same time. So he's not coming at it like, I know everything. He's coming at it like, I'm confused. Somebody explain why this makes sense. And so he has that sharp, edgy attitude. So what are you bringing that's unique? That's your X factor. Now, what I would like to do real fast is talk to you about these amateur competitions. The amateur competitions don't mean much if it's what I would call a bringer amateur competition. Bringer, that's B-R-I-N-G-E-R. That means you have to invite people. You, the comedian, invites people to come to this comedy competition. And it's done by audience vote. And the audience votes on who was the best comedian. And of course, if you brought 30 people to this comedy competition, odds are you're going to win because you have the most people. Now, if you really suck, and you bring 30 people, that's kind of where the X factor comes in. So the judges can make a change and not give you the award, but they're still getting the money from these people that you brought to the competition. So that's a little bit different. A lot of these bringer competitions aren't there for you to compete and win anything substantial. They're there to make the producer or the club money. So it's good to understand they're still valuable enough to get into because they still give you that experience of a competition. But the value you receive from that competition is going to be limited because it is a bringer competition and it's not a producer paid for competition. For example, like the Boston Comedy Festival, or the Big Sky Comedy Competition, or Seattle Comedy Competition, or the San Francisco Comedy Competition. All of these are legit comedy competitions in that they have a reputation and people come to see the show. So, and everybody has a different voting system. But I like the voting system where it's the producer sponsored attendance is done because the club is promoting this competition and it fills the room and you have judges that are judging it and it's not just up to the audience that you may or may not have brought to the show, if that makes sense. So be careful of those. Those are they still have value to you because you get good video, you can get you can say you won a competition and it does bring a little bit of legitimacy, but the real legitimacy comes when you do Seattle or you do San Francisco, you do the World Series of Comedy, you do the Boston Comedy Competition, you do Big Sky's Comedy Competition. If you win those, like if you win Big Sky, you win Seattle, you win San Francisco, you win the Boston Comedy Competition, you win the World Series of Comedy Competition, you will have a manager that wants to sign you. So That's just the way it goes. And plus, World Series of Comedy, you do that comedy competition, you place in the top 3, you're getting work. You're going to be working. You might not get headlining work, but you're going to be getting work. And that feature work that you get around we're talking about 30 weeks. 30 weeks is substantial. That's a lot of work for, attending one competition. So these are very valuable things to receive from competitions. So just placing in the top 3 in San Francisco comedy competition will get you noticed. It's a great way to notoriety. So I take these competitions very seriously. Some people don't believe in competitions. Usually those are people that don't do well in competitions. But competitions are superbly valuable. It doesn't mean anything if you don't win or whatever. Don't let that get you down, because your odds are you're not going to win. If you go and there's 150 comics and or 100 comics in the competition and your odds are 100 to 1 for you to win that competition. And it's still not odds that you can't overcome. You can easily overcome those. If you're the hardest working comic and you've been working regularly and getting great laughs, you can still win that competition. But you still have the odds against you. But competitions are great to build networking, to build your circle of comedians that you know, that will help you to identify other opportunities that are available out there, plus to get you in with some other bookers, get you in with that particular club. That's another benefit to some of these amateur comedy competitions at these clubs. If you attend these regularly, you get on the owners or the bookers' regular list. You're in their head, and they'll want to bring you back for other events too, hopefully. But anyway, I hope that I answered your question, Steve, what the X factor is. And I hope I was able to deliver some information that helped you understand these comedy competitions a little more, from a little more, I guess, informative point of view, rather than just, unknown point of view. My best advice with comedy competitions: go in, do your thing, get the feedback from the judges. One of the other things you can do is go up and ask judges individually, hey man, what notes do you have for me? Do you have any notes for me? Don't be afraid to ask for the criticism, because you get positivity and you'll also get some critical notes that are very important data to help you move forward and grow. So I hope, again, this video brought you value. If you like what you see here and you would like me to answer a question for you, if you have a burning question dealing with comedy, hit me up on Twitter. You can use my handle @JokeDoctor and leave me a question, and I'll be happy to do a video for you and put it up on YouTube and hashtag it with Ask the Joke Doctor, and I'll be happy to do that for you. And if you really like what you're seeing on this channel, subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Heck, give me a thumbs down if you don't like it. Just react. I would like to hear what you have to say. Leave me a comment. You know what I'm saying? I love to read the comments and get back to you on them. So this is why I live for this. This is my whole life's passion, is understanding comedy and figuring out why people laugh and understanding the psychology behind comedy and the structure of writing the comedy, how to get up on stage and make sure you're triggering those laughs for the audience. So just keep those comments coming in, and I'd love to get some answers for you. In the meantime, subscribe, and I will talk to you again soon. Once again, I hope this brought you value to your day. Take care. Bye-bye.